I think the role of me is really just to bring everything together, to sort of gel together some of the disparate areas that we've had today, just before we go off to lunch. And remembering we've still got very important issues this afternoon regarding Operation Sulu and things like that. But I'm going to try and sort of bring it together. But I'm not going to go through every session. I think we've had some really excellent and thought-provoking presentations from our speakers today on sort of the key sort of cornerstones of the work which we're doing. You know, we've had oil spill response from Craig and Mick, so that's sort of covered that sort of pretty well. We've had the work of the Indemnity and Insurance Review Group from Judith and Paul, and then the Technical Review Group just now from Brian and Gregory. And that's given us quite a broad theme of the work which OSPRAG has done. But sort of listening to what people were saying this morning, I think what came to me was a number of issues. Firstly was the fact that after Macondo, we as the industry, and I put the regulators, the trade unions, and all the stakeholders as the industry, we all had to sort of look at some pretty fundamental issues with our particular offshore industry. You know, there were some real challenges for the industry's reputation and the regulators' reputation. There was real sort of fundamental challenges from the public, and the public almost give us sort of the permission to exploit those reservoirs, and therefore immediately after Macondo that was debatable. You know, we had issues, or you had issues in the industry of financial viability, as Paul talked about in regarding the insurance and other sort of issues. We've had real challenges on the technical side immediately after Macondo about the suitability of the bits of technical kit which we know and love and use. You know, sort of things that we've just heard about, sort of the BOP, about our capping response, about our competency, about the whole host of well integrity issues. Suddenly, all the questions were being asked, and questions were being asked of the regulators as well. You know, both in DEC and HSE and MCA, as you know, is our system robust enough? Are we competent enough? Are we resourced enough? And then also there was the threats right at the end of all of this was, you know, were we going to be allowed to continue doing our industry? Remember, sort of, you know, a couple of months after Macondo, there was real threats for a moratorium of drilling in the North Sea, both from UK Parliament and also from the European Union, etc. So we, immediately after Macondo, when OSPRAG was first created, there were some fundamental issues which are on the table which had to be addressed. And I think what came out of the sessions for me today was just the sheer scale of the response which was made by industry. You know, it's very impressive that we had such a group was up and running within a month of Macondo happening. It really did set the pace of country stakeholder responses. And when you consider how other countries responded, I think we were right up there, you know, in the front of responding to that. I think another area which comes out is that the collaborative nature, both within the industry, sort of operators, service companies, contractors are working together, and also with other stakeholders, the work of Jake and his trade union colleagues on OSPRAG, of the regulators, and for other sort of public bodies such as MCA and local authorities. So real collaborative working, and it's amazing how many people mentioned that in their presentations. Just looking at the sheer scale, I was trying to count out how many sort of separate work groups we had. I think I got to about 11 work groups in OSPRAG. I think with Well Life Cycle Practices Forum, I think there's about 11 sort of work groups or subgroups. I think the Oil Spill Response Forum has at least 3, although maybe 6. So a hell of a lot of bodies and a hell of a lot of people there involved. There must have been well over hundreds of people, you know, working in OSPRAG-related work. And I think the scope of that was highlighted this morning from legal, environmental, engineering, logistics, oil spill response. You know, the whole industry was there in a microcosm, I think, in the areas which we've had to sort of deal with. And the scale also was emphasised for me in the capping device, which was launched at Offshore Europe a couple of weeks ago, and we all came and sort of paid homage to that big yellow beast. But I think when we think of the time that took, we started thinking about it in June of 2010, and come August 2011, it's there. 7 months, in manufacture, went through the whole phases, as Brian mentioned, just now. So that's a phenomenal scale of response there. And the last thing, which is surprising, nobody's mentioned this actually, the whole purpose of the conference is to launch the report. So I thought I'd be the first one to actually hold it up and say, here is the report, this is what the press release is about, and all the scope of the work is really well recorded in here. And this is part of the legacy, and it's been surprising. A number of people have come to me from across the world saying, can you tell us more about OSPRAG? I now can. Other sort of conclusions from this morning was the uniqueness of the UK. There's been a number of key areas which people have said, we only do this in the UK. We only have OPOL in the UK. Nobody else has that. We only have the CAP in the UK. It's the only first, others may well follow, but we are the first one. We're unique there. OSPRAG is unique. I can't see any other country, any other industry association kicking this off. We are unique. We are the models for others. So I think that gives us quite a good feeling. But, as always, there is the but. What also came out from this morning was the dangers of complacency. Because when we look at the changes which have happened since Macondo, since OSPRAG was first created, I think that really does highlight the dangers if we all think at any one time everything's okay. Archie Smith said that, and this is the only quote, that there was a paradigm shift in the worst case scenarios, Macondo. And what did that cause? That caused a doubling of the OPIP, OPEP plans, new guidance there. We've had the CAP come in. So phenomenal changes which we've had because of the change in looking at what the worst case scenario was. The OSIS sort of agreements, and I think there is still areas there where perhaps it's not all hunky-dory. Before Macondo, we thought, we were quite comfortable. We're not now. We've learnt lessons from Sula, and I think there will be sort of an interesting debate and presentations after lunch. And we've had a raft of technical guidance, which is either come out or coming out from the World's Life Cycle Practices Forum and others. So, if we were complacent before Macondo, we certainly can't be now. And I think that came across very true and very clearly from the presentations today. I came out of this feeling pretty proud of what we've got. I think we stepped up to the plate and we did deliver in challenging circumstances. And we delivered in an area of high economic and political stakes. And I think everybody who's been involved, and I think everybody in the room here, the fact that you're here, have had some involvement, I think we can all be proud of what has been presented today.